We now go across continents and get you the latest from Davos, where the World Economic Forum is taking place. My colleague Shweta Rajpal Kohli has caught up with Nikesh Arora, the Senior Vice President and Chief Business Officer at Google. This, of course, is the first interview he is giving after the entire controversy over the deletion of offensive content. The Supreme Court has pulled up Google and Facebook, asking them why they can't take action against offenders. Let's listen in.
Interesting and challenging times for technology giants over issues like privacy and censorship. It's a pleasure to have with us here at the NDTV studio in Davos, Nikesh Arora, the Chief Business Officer and Senior Vice President of Google. Many thanks, Nikesh, for being with us here.
My pleasure, Shweta. Thank you for having me.
Google is in the midst of a legal tussle in India over the issue of banning objectionable content. I know the matter is sub judice, but just to broadly understand the issue, do you think the demands being made by the Indian government are unreasonable?
Well, I think, first of all, you have to understand this is not about Google. I think this is about freedom of free expression, right? It's about anybody in the country who wants to express themselves on any technology platform, whether it's Google, whether it's the NDTV site, whether it's wherever. So I think one has to be very careful as you evaluate this issue. You have to understand what the issue is and try and solve that particular problem. We feel like, when you have a hammer in your hand, everything looks like a nail.
Right, Nikesh, but the argument that the government's been making really is that there is some very serious objectionable content on the net. And that's something, we need a mechanism to work this out.
Yeah, I mean, but, it's like there are some seriously bad elements in society. It doesn't mean that every one of our houses needs to be searched every morning. I mean, you're saying that one needs to look at every piece of content and decide what's right, what's wrong. And, whilst it's an interesting concept, who is going to decide? I don't feel qualified as Google to decide on every piece of content whether it's going to be okay or not okay. I don't think you guys can decide if every comment on the NDTV site is appropriate or not appropriate. I mean, there are laws all around the world around this stuff, and there is a very fundamental issue that if you identify something as objectionable, people who have it should take it down as quickly as possible. That's what's done in the United States, that's what's done in many other parts of the world, and it seems to work.
But at the same time, you're the ones who are carrying that content, and that's the argument that is being made, that ultimately the government can only approach you and say, hey, we have a problem with this, can you ensure that it's removed? And there have been several requests that the government has made, more than 300 requests in the last 1 year that please do remove this objectionable content. Is that something which is, again, fair? Because the government's saying it's in the interest of public harmony, it is something that needs to be done to ensure that you're not inciting communal elements.
I think, Shweta, this is, as I said, it's an extremely complicated topic. It needs to be understood really well. I don't think the challenge is taking things down. I think one has to clearly understand what is objectionable. One has to be given due notice to be able to take it down. And that's the process one should follow. I think the idea of censoring everything and pre-clearing everything is going to fundamentally sort of taint the growth of the internet economy in India vis-a-vis the rest of the world. I think, do we want to be part of that country where suddenly things are not happening as fast, people are not innovating, we are not seeing entrepreneurs because everything has to be checked before? Part of my 7 years at Google, I used to be very proud every time I came to India, said, India is not like many other countries around the world. We have a fundamental belief around democracy, we have a fundamental belief around freedom of expression, and I think we need to keep that.
Are you disappointed with what has happened over the last few months?
I think I take a long-term view on this. I think there are a lot of people in the country who believe that this is freedom of expression is important. There are a lot of people who feel passionately about making sure we don't go in the wrong direction. So I'm hoping that there will be a balanced debate around it and eventually the right thing will happen.
NDTV's cricket app, Android and iPhone, fastest scorecard, special analysis, and much more. Download free. ndtv.com/apps.